Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Anupma Biology Classes. In this video, we will see five-kingdom system of classification, and this is the part of biological classification. Now, this video is taken from CBSE class 11th, chapter 2nd, part 2nd. Now let's start the topic. So first thing is two-kingdom system of classification before the five-kingdom system of classification. So what is two-kingdom system of classification? This kingdom of classification was suggested by Carolus Linnaeus in 1758. He divided the living worlds into two kingdoms, that is Plantae for plants and Animalia for animals. He categorized and classified the living organism on the basis of nutrition and mobility. The plants were stationary, they did not eat, but seemed to need only water for growth. And the last is animals could move around and they had to eat plants or other animals to keep alive. So, a two-kingdom system of classification was developed with Plantae and Animalia kingdoms that included all plants and animals respectively. This system was in use until recently. This system did not differentiate between eukaryotes and prokaryotes, unicellular and multicellular organisms, photosynthetic and non-photosynthetic organisms. The classification of organisms into plants and animals was simple, but a large number of organisms did not fit into this category. So, as a result, the long used two-kingdom classification was found to be inadequate. A need also felt for including, in addition to gross morphology, other characteristics such as cell structure, wall nature, mode of nutrition, habitat, reproduction methods, evolutionary relationships, and so on. As a result, classification systems for living organisms have evolved, and though the plants and animals kingdoms have remained constant across all systems. The understanding of what groups or organisms fall under these kingdoms has shifted. The number and nature of other kingdoms have also been interpreted differentially by different scientists over time. So these are all about the two-kingdom system of classification. And the next thing is, at cellular level, in case of two-kingdom system of classification, cell wall surrounded a plant cell and not an animal cell. Bacteria were placed in the plant kingdom because of their rigid cell walls. Unicellular eukaryotes with the chloroplast were considered plants. Fungi were regarded aberrant plants as they were sedentary and have cell wall but lacked green pigments. Unicellular prokaryotes that moved and ingested food protozoans were placed among animals. Unicellular eukaryotes such as Euglena, which moved but were photosynthetic, found places in both plants and animal kingdom. So more differences revealed by a careful study of plants and animals, and here we will discuss about this. So the first kingdom, the name of the first kingdom is Plantae. So the original plant kingdom included bacteria, fungi, algae, liverworts, mosses, ferns, conifers and flowering plants. And the plant kingdom have following distinguishing features. So what are the features of the Plantae? That is the form, size and symmetry, movement and locomotion, growth, metabolism, irritability, reproduction and regeneration, surface area, reserve food, cell structure and cell function. So we will discuss each and every part in detail in the next slide. So see here, if we talk about the form, size and symmetry, the overall form and size is generally variable in plants. However, the shape of certain organs such as leaves, flowers and fruits is nearly constant. Plant body is usually asymmetrical due to its irregular forms. So here you can see that the symmetry. If we talk about the movement and locomotion, So plants, if at all, move their parts, do so very slowly because they lack muscles. Plants are mostly rooted and incapable of locomotion. After this, growth. Growth in plants occurs at the growing points only. It is unlimited and continues as long as the plant's life. This is why the largest living objects are among the plants. New organs such as branches and leaves keep arising throughout life. After this, if we talk about the metabolism, so all aspects of metabolism have certain characteristics. Like the first one is nutrition. Nutrition in plants is generally autotrophic or holophytic due to the presence of chlorophyll and consequent photosynthesis. Some are saprotrophs. Only materials in solution are observed. Particulate matter cannot be taken as they are in no mouth. Only essential materials are absorbed so that there is no need for defecation, and inorganic nutrients are absorbed such from outside. If we talk about respiration, plants take up oxygen and release carbon dioxide all the time for carrying on respiration. In case of photosynthesis, the plants also take up carbon dioxide and set free oxygen during the daytime to carry on photosynthesis. In case of excretion, plants being passive organisms from little nitrogenous waste matter, hence they lack excretory organs. In case of irritability, plants respond to external stimuli very slowly because they lack sense organs, nervous system and muscles. In case of reproduction and regeneration, plants seek services of external agencies such as air, water and insect in sexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction and regeneration are widespread in case of plants. In surface area, plant's body is usually branched and all its organs are external to have a large surface area for receiving more sunlight, which is essential for it. In reserve food, plants store food in them for later use mainly as starch. In case of cell structure, plant cell is bounded by a thick rigid cell wall, contains a large central sap which is known as vacuole, usually lacks centrosome, generally has plastates. Plant cell is without intermediate fibers, desmosomes and contractile vacuole, and plant cell often has inorganic crystals. So what are the functions of cell in case of plant? So plant cell can synthesize all the needed amino acids, coenzymes and vitamins, cannot contract or change form, and plant cell forms an astral spindle. Plant cell commonly divides by cell plate method. So these are all about the kingdom first, which is known as Plantae. After this, the second kingdom, which is Animalia. So the original animal kingdom includes protozoans, sponges, jellyfishes, worms, insects, crabs, centipedes, millipedes, spiders, snails, starfish, shark, bony fishes, frogs, lizards, birds and mammals. So the animal have the following general characters, and these are form, size and symmetry, movement and locomotion, growth, metabolism, irritability, reproduction and regeneration, surface area, reserve food, cell structure and cell function. So we will see each and every part here. First one, that is the form, size and symmetry. Form and size are almost constant in animals. Animal body is mostly symmetrical because of its regular form. If we talk about the locomotion and movement, animals can often move their parts rapidly because they have muscles. They also generally move about in search of the necessities of life. In case of growth, growth in animals takes place proportionately in all parts of the body. It is limited and stops after the size fixed for the species is reached. Animal growth involves enlargement of organs already present in the young. New organs are not formed during growth. Now, after this, metabolism. All aspects of metabolism have certain characteristics, in which the first one is the nutrition. Nutrition in animals is mostly holotrophic or holozoic. Some are saprotrophs and even autotrophs, like in case of Euglena. Fluid material as well as particulate matter are taken via mouth. Food is digested in the specialized cavities before it can be used. Animal food contains a lot of indigestible matter which needs elimination as feces. Inorganic nutrients are generally not taken as such from outside. In case of respiration, animals take up oxygen and release carbon dioxide for respiration. Carbon assimilation in case of animals mostly cannot use carbon dioxide. In case of excretion, animals being active organisms form nitrogenous waste matter which is eliminated by excretory organs. In case of irritability, animals respond to external stimuli quickly because they mostly have sense organs, nervous system and muscle which are not produced or not present in case of plants. In case of reproduction and regeneration, most animals reproduce sexually, but they do not depend on external agencies for this. Asexual reproduction and regeneration are confined to lower forms. In case of surface areas, animal body is generally compact and unbranched, and most of its organs are internal. This is so because the animals do not need a large surface area. In case of reserve food, animals store food for future use mainly as glycogen. So reserve food in case of plants is starch and in case of animals is glycogen. If we talk about the animal cell structure, animal cell lacks rigid cell wall which is present in plants, has only small vacuoles instead of a large central vacuole, usually contains a centrosome. Animal cell is mostly without plastids. Animal cell contains intermediate fibers and desmosomes and may also have contractile vacuole. And animal cell does not contain inorganic crystals. Now, if in case of functions of the cell, in case of animal, cannot synthesize all the needed amino acids, coenzymes and vitamins. Animal cell can often contract and change form. Animal cell forms amphiestral spindle and divided by cell furrowing. So this is all about the second kingdom, which is Animalia. Now, what are the shortcomings of the two kingdom system? So, in two kingdom classification, unicellular organisms are put together with multicellular organisms. Two kingdom classification has put together eukaryotes with prokaryotes. Two kingdom classification has put together autotrophs and heterotrophs such as non-photosynthesizing fungi with the photosynthetic green plants. Two kingdom classification has little regard for diversified form. Lichens is a peculiar group of dual organisms which are formed by an association between an algae and fungus. They have neither plant characters nor any animal character. Group of unicellular algae like euglenoids, diatoms and dinoflagellates and protozoa show sufficient degree of resemblance. So if we talk about in diversified form, so the two kingdom system of classification worked well for a long time. Now, however, it seems inadequate and unsatisfactory in view of the new information that has come to light about the organism, particularly the lower forms. So, first see here, in case of distinction between the higher and more familiar plants and animals is quite clear. There is no difficulty in considering a tree or a moss a plant and a cow or a grasshopper an animal. However, it is not easy to recognize the lower organism as plant or animal. Some of them have characters of both the kingdoms and may be placed in any. So, few examples are cited and these are, first see here, that is the Euglena. Euglena is a unicellular organism which has both animals and plant features. It possesses a whip-like flagellum for locomotion, a mouth, a contractile vacuole, power of contracting body and changing forms, the reproduction by binary fission, and lacks a cell wall. On the basis of these features, it can be considered an animal, but many species of Euglena have chlorophyll and pyrenoids and carry on photosynthesis. These species can be easily regarded plants. They also absorb amino acids and minerals through the body surface. The dual mode of nutrition is called mixotrophic. The chlorophyll-bearing species further confuse the two-kingdom taxonomists. If kept in the dark, they lose chlorophyll and start heterotrophic nutrition. Thus, they change from plant to animal. So, in case of Euglena, they have both the characters related to the plants and animals. Now, in case of Chlamydomonas, it is a unicellular algae. It is motile and has a fixed shape and possesses a photosensitive organelles like the animals and is autotrophic like the plants. In case of slime molds, a group of fungi like cell wall can creep and ingest particulate matter in the vegetative phase but develop a cell wall in the reproductive phase. Thus, they resemble animals at one stage and plants at another. In case of sponges, these are fixed, branched and irregular creatures like the plants. Further, they respond to stimuli very slowly due to lack of sense organ and nervous system. They have holozoic nutrition and excrete nitrogenous waste material like the animals. In case of lichens are peculiar organisms which lack plant as well as animal character. They consist of an alga and a fungus growing in an association. Unicellular plants like diatoms and animals like protozoans are clearly related. They have the same level of organization and reproduce by fission, but they are placed in different kingdoms. Bacteria present a great taxonomic problem. They have a cell wall but may also have flagella used to move around. Most of them are unable to prepare their own food, but some are capable of photosynthesis. Moreover, the bacteria, also blue-green algae, have an organization fundamentally different from that of other organisms. They are prokaryotes and therefore lack nuclear envelope and cytoplasmic organelles except the ribosomes. They are lack mitotic apparatus, meiosis and sexual reproduction. They have a primitive single envelope organization. Yet, they are combined with the plants which are eukaryotes and hence have envelope, bound nucleus and several kinds of cytoplasmic organelles in their cells, namely like endoplasmic reticulum, mitochondria, Golgi apparatus, plastids and vacuoles in addition to the ribosomes. They also have mitotic apparatus, meiosis and sexual reproduction. So they possess a double envelope organization. Placing these organisms into a separate kingdom seems justified. Fungi lacks chlorophyll and are saprophytic unlike the typical plants. They live in their food source, secretive digestive enzymes, and absorb the small organic molecules formed by digestion. Moreover, their body plan is altogether different from that of plants. Yet they are kept in the plant kingdom. They certainly qualify to be placed in a separate kingdom. Furthermore, plants and animals did not exist as clearly recognizable organisms in the beginning. Early organisms were neither plant-like nor animal-like. Some of them later evolved along plants and animals' lines gradually. Definite plant or animal status was attained quite late in the evolutionary history. Therefore, the 236-year-old traditional two-kingdom system of classification is inadequate and unjustified. It does not indicate the gradual evolution of early organisms into plants and animals. So classification is intended to give not only morphological feature of a group but also its evolutionary history. Hence, recently efforts have been made to put forward an alternative system of classification which shows the evolution of organisms. So after this, a new kingdom of classification here you can see, which is five-kingdom system of classification. because two kingdom system of classification have many shortcomings. So, Robert H. Whittaker proposed five-kingdom classification in 1969 to show the phylogenetic relationships of the organism. He divided the living world into five kingdoms, that is Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae and Animalia. So, in this classification, organisms of each type have a proper place from the point of view of their structure and evolution. Hence, Whittaker's schemes have found favor with the most biologists. Now, Whittaker in 1969 has based his five-kingdom system of classification of living organisms on the following factors. So, what are the factors of five-kingdom system of classification? First one is structure of the cells. So, living organism can be divided into two major categories on the basis of cell structure, that is prokaryotic cells and the eukaryotic cells. After this, unicellular and multicellular organism. Next is mode of nutrition, and the last one is phylogenetic relationships. So what are these factors? See here in detail. You can see that the structure of cells in case of living organism have two categories. First one is the prokaryotic cell and the second is eukaryotic cells. It means in case of prokaryotic cell, nucleus is absent and nucleoid is present at place of the nucleus, and in case of eukaryotic cells, true nucleus is present. Now, unicellular organism and multicellular organism. The principle of organic evolution has revealed that the earliest organisms were simple unicellular. Some of the unicellular eukaryotic organism is due course of time evolved into multicellular organism. Some of the multicellular organism finally become complex. Now, in case of mode of nutrition, Whittaker classified organism on the basis of autotrophic and heterotrophic mode of nutrition. And then after this, autotrophic organisms are further divided into chemosynthetic and photosynthetic. Now, the heterotrophic organisms have divided into mainly two categories, but you can see here three, which is ingestive or holozoic and absorptive or saprophytic organism. And the last one, that is the parasitism. And after this, phylogenetic relationship. Phylogeny is the evolutionary history of an organism. Therefore, phylogenetic relationships of organisms alone are the index of their true kinship. Such relationships are not clear in all cases. Only fossil records can provide such relationships, but this record is incomplete and is likely to remain so. Therefore, the phylogenetic relationships are as certain as pointed out earlier in this chapter. So, from morphology, cytology, genetics, biochemistry and physiology for the correct classification of the organism. So this is all about the factor of the five-kingdom system of classification. Now, what is the justification for five-kingdom classification? Separation of the prokaryotes from the plant. So these are the plant and this is the prokaryote, which is the bacterial cell, into an independent kingdom Monera is fully justified because they differ from all other organisms in their morphological and physiological organization. Some unicellular eukaryotes such as Euglena had earlier been included both in plants and animals. Grouping of unicellular eukaryotes into a separate kingdom, Protist, has eliminated this anomaly. Elevation of fungi to the rank of a kingdom is fully correct because they differ in morphology as well as physiology from the plants with which they were hitherto grouped. The plants and animal kingdoms are now more homogeneous groups than they were in the earlier two kingdom system of classification. Five-kingdom system of classification is based on cellular organization and modes of nutrition, the characters which evolved very early in the organic world. Five-kingdom classification seems more Phylogenetically reasonable because it indicates the gradual evolution of early organisms into plants and animals to a good extent. So this is all about the justification for the five kingdom system of classification. Now, what are the representatives of the five kingdoms? So here you can see the kingdom and their representative. Like first one is the Monera, and the representatives are Archaebacteria, which is known as ancient bacteria, Eubacteria, which is known as true bacteria, and Cyanobacteria, which is known as blue-green algae. Next is Protista, in which Protistan algae like Euglena, dinoflagellates, diatoms, water molds and slime molds, protozoans. Next is fungi like yeast, molds, mushrooms, toadstools, puffballs, bracket fungi, rust, mildew, etc. In case of Plantae, representatives are algae, liverworts, mosses, ferns, conifers, flowering plants, etc. And in case of Animalia, representatives are sponges, cnidarians, worms, arthropods, mollusks, echinodermates, lower chordates, fishes, amphibians, reptile, birds and mammals. So these are the five kingdoms, which are Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae and Animalia. And here you can see the representatives of all these five kingdoms. Now, what are the drawbacks of the five kingdom classification? So, the kingdom Monera and Protista are still heterogeneous groups. Both include photosynthetic, that means autotrophic, and non-photosynthetic, heterotrophic forms and organisms with cell wall and without cell wall. Phylogenetic relationships, particularly of lower organisms, are not fully reflected. For example, certain green algae and some photosynthetic bacteria get hydrogen from sources other than water, but these are assigned to different kingdoms. Many different Protestant lines gave rise to multicellular groups, and none of the three higher kingdoms contains the single ancestor of all its members. So, multicellular lines originates from Protista, many at least 17 times, thus each kingdom is polyphyletic. Unicellular green algae such as Chlamydomonas, volvox have not been included in the kingdom Protista. This is due to their resemblance with the other green algae in structure, reproduction and life cycle patterns. And the last is the slime molds are quite different from the other protists with which they have been combined. So this is all about the two kingdom and five kingdom system of classification. Here we show that what are the two kingdom system of classification, then what are the characters of the kingdom Plantae and Animalia, then shortcomings of the two kingdom system of classification, then what are the factors of the five kingdom system of classification, their justification, representatives and drawbacks. So in the next video we will see each and every kingdom like Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae and Animalia in detail. So if you understand my video, please like and share it and subscribe to my channel Anupma Biology Classes. If you have any queries, any suggestions or any questions, you can ask in the comment section below. Thank you for the watching.